This is a revision kind of video. Now let us solve chapter wise MCQs videos. If you solve more MCQs, match the following questions, you will be able to crack the exam easily. Because if you keep on studying, you won't be able to crack any exam. Practice is the key. Practice MCQs and you will clear the exam. So let's see chapter wise and revise the Indian polity. Even if you have not studied anything, just solve this MCQ and then study, you will see the difference. So you will get to know where to study, where to focus while studying, where the questions are coming from. That's why even the toppers say MCQ solving is very important. Most of the questions come from past year questions, and if you solve more MCQs, you will get the idea how the questions are framed, how to pick the answers. Now let's see. Uh, consider this is the first chapter, historical background. There are around roughly 22 questions. Let's solve them. First question. Under the Government of India Act 1919, the Indian legislature was made more representative and for the first time bicameral. First option is right. And Government of India Act 1935 prescribed a federation. Yes. Taking the provinces and the Indian states as union. Yes, that is true. But it does not come into force. Next. Which of the following are the principal features of the Government of India Act 1919? Uh, Now let's see. 1919 Act is known as Montague-Chelmsford Reforms. Introduction of diarchy in the executive government of the provinces. Introduction of separate communal electorates for Muslims. First one is correct, and this is wrong because separate communal electorate for Muslims is introduced in 1909 Act. Devolution of legislative authority by the center to the provinces. Yes, correct. Expansion and reconstitution of central and provincial legislatures. This is correct. So answer is 1, 3, and 4. Consider the following statements. The first Public Service Commission in India was set up in the year 1926 on the recommendation of the Lee Commission on the Superior Civil Services in India. What is the second option? Government of India Act 1935 provided for setting up of public service commissions at both the federal and provincial levels. Here the answer is both 1 and 2. This is correct and this is correct. First PSC was set up in 1926. That is correct. Lee Commission, correct. And what about 1935 Act? It introduced setting of PSCs at both federal and provincial levels. That is the difference, okay? And which one of the following acts provided the setting up of a board of control in Britain through which the British government could fully control the British East India Company's civil, military, and revenue affairs in India? Here the answer is B. It's India Act. It introduced what? Board of control. Now let's see the fifth question. This is the just match the ABCD to the one of the options in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's see what we can get. Government of India Act 1935. And what is the second one? Indian Councils Act 1909. Minto Mall reforms. Government of India Act 1919. Montague-Chelmsford reforms. Government of India Act 1858. The Act of Good Governance. It immediately happened. It came after the revolt of 1857. That is first war of independence. Now let's see what are the answers. The option is 5B. A goes to 3, which is 1935 Act, Introduction of Provincial Autonomy, yes. And B, 5. Indian Councils Act 1909, Introduction of Separate Electorate for Muslims. That means only Muslims can vote for Muslims. That was came in 1909 in Minto-Morley Reforms, 1909 Act. And C4, Government of India Act 1919, Introduction of diarchy in provinces. We have previously seen in the above question. Government of India Act 1858. This is D1. Transfer of power from East India Company to British Crown. Because it's just a ceremonial one. It assumes the responsibility of governing India after 1857 to just cool down the people. Remaining everything exploitation, it did not change. This is just an administrative change, which was happened after the 1857 in the form of 1858 Act. Partially responsible governments in the provinces were established under which one of the following acts? Answer is Government of India Act 1919. That is Montague-Chelmsford reforms. Just remember the term partially responsible governments in the provinces. Okay. Previously we have seen Introduction of diarchy in the provinces in 1919 also happened, and partial responsible government in the provinces also happened 1919. And the initial idea of recruitment on merit principle can be traced to the Macaulay Committee. Okay. During the period of British rule in India, the rules were under which one of the following were known as devolution rules. Under Government of India Act 1919, during the period of British rule of India, rules made under 1919 are called as devolution rules because the powers are devoluted to the lower forms from center to provinces. And which one of the following cases correctly matched? Ninth question. Option is A. This is the only that is currently matched. Indian Councils Act 1892. Principle of election. The first concept of election came in 1892. Even the word may not be mentioned, but some sort of setup was came in 1892. And what is the 10th one? Notwithstanding the introduction of provincial autonomy, government of in 1935 retained control of the central government over the provinces in a certain sphere. Of course, it maintains that. And the answer is first one is correct. What about reason? The governor was required to act in his own discretion in certain matters, for which he wants to act without minister and under the control and directions of the governor general. This is center, and this is at the provinces. He follows the instructions of the governor general. That means governor general can control governor, and in indirectly he can control the province. Explains the assertion. So option A is correct. Now let's look at the 11th question. In the federation established by the Act of 1935, residuary powers were given to the governor general. 1935 residuary powers means powers which are not mentioned in the legislation. Any power, some sort of extraordinary powers, those comes under governor general. Next, 12th question. Match list, match 2. Okay, let's see ABCD with the 1 2 3 4 5, just like we have seen in the past questions. And Government of India Act 1858, it appointed Secretary of State for India. Indian Councils Act 1861, it led to the beginning of representation and legislative devolution, representation of Indians. Okay, you need to understand that. And C, Indian Councils Act 1909, Minto-Morley reforms. C, I have told you above. The same question came here. And next, D, diarchy in provinces. We have previously already talked about this. It introduced diarchy in the provinces. Diarchy means dual role. The rule by elected representatives and the governor of the province. Powers is distributed between both of them. That is known as diarchy, dual rule. Next, Government of India Act 1919. It was based upon Montague-Chelmsford reforms. We have already talked about this. And which one of the following acts was the communal electorate introduced by British in India for the first time? Communal electorate for the first time. Option is A. We have already talked about this. 1909 Act, Minto-Morley reforms introduced separate electorate for Muslims. What were the salient features of 1935 Act? Abolition of Council of India. Yes. Diarchy at the center. 1935 Act abolished diarchy at the province, which was introduced in the 1919, but it introduced diarchy at the center. And establishment of federal court. Yes, all these are done through the Act of 1935. Therefore, 1, 2, 3, 4 is correct. 16. A. Federal scheme of government, which is here the options seem to be wrong. Now let's see which one is course. Rigid centralization. Now, if you look at this, federal scheme of government came in 1935 Act, and diarchy in provincial government was introduced in 1919. Communal representation. It first time it was introduced in 1909. Separate electorate for Muslims. Minto-Mala reforms. Rigid centralization. These came obviously Indian Councils Act 1861. And so the option is 3412. Who among the following was the finance minister of India in the interim government during 1946 to 1947? Check the answers. Is it Shanmugam Chetty or John Mathai, Liaquat Ali Khan, Chintaman Rao Deshmukh? Which one do you think? The option is Liaquat Ali Khan. Okay. And next, which one of the following acts laid the foundation of British administration in India? 18th question. It laid the foundation of British administration in India. The answer is for the first act, for the first time, the regulated East India Company by the British government. That is Regulating Act 1773. So now comes the 19th question. Now let's see the same. Match the following. 19th question is designation of the Governor General of Bengal as the Governor General of India. Now look at this. The title changed from Governor General of Bengal to the Governor General of India, which means the Bengal's Governor General has become the supreme all over India, and other Governor General Bengal's Governor Generals of Madras and Bombay, they become subordinate to the Governor General of India, who is Governor General of Bengal. So this happened in Charter Act of 1833. That means peak of centralization reached in 1833. So diarchy for the first time introduced in Indian government in the provinces, that too in the provinces through 1919 Act. Twin features of All India Federation and provincial autonomy. We have previously discussed about this. All India Federation related to 1935 Act. Federation. It bought the concept, but it never put into force. And the control of the government of India transferred from East India Company to British Company. I have already told you. After 1857 revolt, the control of the government of India transferred from East India Company to British Crown as some sort of responsibility to cool down the people. Nothing changed. All the exploitation and the hell out of money being dragged out of India's people, and nothing's changed. It's same. Here the answer is 1858 Act. Who among the following was the first law minister of India? Now let's see if you guys know about this. The answer is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He is the first law minister of India. I have huge respect for him. And next, 21st questions. With reference to a period of British rule in India, Indian Statutory Commission is popularly known as. See, there was a lot of controversy about this. This is the answer. Simon Commission. There were no Indians in the Simon Commission, and it came only consists of foreign British born people who came to India to judge what sort of government that suits India. This is a mockery on the mindsets of British people on how they treat Indians. That's why it is met with a huge opposition in India, and the slogans were made and like "Go back, Simon! Go back, Simon!" And in the same struggle, Lala Lajpat Rai is got martyred because of the lathi charges by the British official Sanders, and the Bhagat Singh took revenge for it. And let's come to the 22nd questions. During the British rule in India, who was the first Indian to be appointed as law member of the Governor General Council? He is none other than Satyendra Sinha. Have you seen him? I'll show you he speaks. Satyendra Sinha. So he's the one, Satyendra Sinha. So this is the person, Governor General, who's been put into Governor General Executive Council, Governor General's Council as a law member for the first time. He was born in 1863, died in 1928. Okay, the same question here. First Indian to be appointed to the Executive Council of Viceroy. Just now I previously told. That's it. Thank you.